we want to see media doing more to be edifying than destructive, right? And we know that media can be used for harm or for good. And so we talk to people on both sides of the political spectrum. But without question, I think we can all agree the last 5 years have been different. They've been unorthodox, to say the least. When you look at the recent history of this country, especially in the last two, what period of time do you liken it to, based on the work that you've done and the other periods you've covered? What do you look back for a proxy?
Well, I mean, it's certainly not a great analog, but probably the end of our last war, a large war, Vietnam.
Yeah.
I mean, 68 to 74, America was
Mess.
tearing itself to pieces.
Yeah.
We had violence in the streets. We had real problems with equity and equality and economics, and we didn't have a pandemic, but there was more than enough to go around. It was a hard time, and I think this was the one of the first moments in which America was as polarized as perhaps we are today, when we knew that there were definite sides. It wasn't just Democrat or Republican, but it was the yippies and the hippies and the Reds, and like just everyone had a tribe, and some of them were anti-American. So yeah, I would go back to that period. 68 to 74 was rough.
Okay. And if you were going to prescribe any content that you've created across all the different work that you've done for somebody that's trying to make sense of the time we're in, is there one that you've done that covers that specifically?
We did do a crossover series with Legal Wars, the trial of the Chicago Seven, which is a look at that particular moment. The Netflix film was great too, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to ask what you thought of that.
But Sorkin's just great at this sort of storytelling, even though he takes license.
Sure.
But honestly, I would also go to Wicked Game, because it touches it. It's every 4 year survey of the entirety of American history, and so if you started and just found those, the death of JFK, and then listen through LBJ to Nixon, you would get a good idea of how much this nation changed, politically, socially, economically, the whole gamut.